Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. A search for a missing Nunavut man has ended tragically in Yellowknife. Johnny Jr. Ningyunyang, originally from Coral Harbor, was reported missing after he was last seen in the city on Saturday. His body was found on Tuesday. The NWT Coroner Service is investigating the circumstances of his death and has ordered an autopsy. Authorities have not released any further details. A man originally from Rankin Inlet, Nunavut, has died after a fight inside a Winnipeg residence late last month. Now, Winnipeg police say charges have been laid in connection with the killing. 48-year-old Daryl Kablalik was found with critical injuries after a fight inside a downtown Winnipeg home. He was rushed to hospital where he later died from his injuries. Police say the suspect left the scene before officers arrived, but officers later located and arrested a man nearby. A 40-year-old man has now been charged with second-degree murder in the death of Kablalik. He remains in custody. The Whitehorse Fire Department responded to a house fire early this afternoon in the Porter Creek neighborhood. Crews were able to knock the fire down fairly quickly, but the house had already...
On Monday night, Whitehorse City councillors asked staff about ticketing more dog owners. It's technically illegal to run your dogs off leash on the city's trails. The rule is not closely followed, but councillors say residents are complaining about it.
We've been contacted directly by citizens who have had issues and some pretty traumatic experiences with aggressive dog behavior. And it's a variety of matters, from attacks to charging to entering people's property.
City officials confirmed the number of dog bite investigations is also on the rise. There have been 12 dog bite investigations so far this year, and most of them in May.
Our biggest tool is the educational messaging and just informing the public that we don't have any off-leash dogs areas, with the exception of the dog park at the end of Main Street. And that dogs are to be kept leashed in public areas to maintain control of your dog or animal at all times, and to respect that not everybody is comfortable around dogs.
Many Whitehorse residents told CBC News this is a dog-loving town, but most people say they've had bad experiences too.
Usually people, they have the dogs off leash, and we don't have any issues with that. Like, our dogs are off leash as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Have you ever had a bad experience?
Like, just once, they were basically fighting with each other, but
the dogs were fighting with each other?
Yeah, the dogs.
I'm not really a fan of off-leash dogs, but there's going to be a lot of people walking around with kids, basically. I think the dog should be on the leash until you're someplace where they can't do so freely without scaring people, basically. Some people are scared of dogs, they just are.
A local dog trainer told CBC she is not surprised to see there's been an uptick in complaints. Around this time of year, she also gets a surge in calls from people asking for help with their reactive pets. But she says it is possible to train that behavior away.
If they had rescued the dog or even a puppy, I'm recommending that they do keep that dog on a leash. For sure, if it's a rescue for the first 90 days. And that's just to get to know the dog, to let the dog settle in. Just being on leash until we know the dog's triggers.
The City of Whitehorse says it's planning to ramp up public education about dogs this summer. Gabrielle Planca, CBC News, Whitehorse.
And that was a story about Yukoners who are raising concerns about aggressive and uncontrolled dogs in public spaces. As you heard, they say encounters on trails and in parks are leaving some people feel unsafe. Our thanks to Gabrielle Planca for that story. Now back to the Whitehorse Fire Department, which responded to a house fire early this afternoon in the Porter Creek neighborhood. As I mentioned before, crews were able to knock the fire down fairly quickly, but the house had already suffered significant damage. That's according to a spokesperson for the city of Whitehorse, who speaks on behalf of the fire department. Nobody was in the house when firefighters arrived, and crews were able to rescue a family pet from inside. Fire investigation was also on site. No cause has been identified, but the fire is not considered suspicious at this time. Yellowknifers have been talking for a while now about renaming the city's main street from Franklin Avenue to Williday Avenue. And now Yellowknife City Council has voted unanimously to do it. But the change is bringing new questions. As Jessica Davy-Quantick tells us, many residents say it's about much more than a new street sign.
After weeks of debate, Franklin Avenue officially has a new name, Willaday Avenue. Yellowknife's iconic main street will begin getting new signs in the coming weeks. But for businesses and residents worried about changing their address, there's some good news. As far as Canada Post is concerned, the road remains 50th Avenue, meaning mail delivery and mailing addresses won't change. The city estimates the renaming project will cost about $41,000.
I think in the grand scheme, when we're talking monetary, it's very minimal. I do realize that some residents are going to feel a little bit of an impact, but I know the city is working hard with residents to be able to fix that.
The new name was chosen in partnership with the Yellowknives Dene First Nation. For many residents, the change is a visible reminder that Indigenous languages belong in public spaces.
I think it's really important for our Indigenous languages.
And while some have raised concerns about pronouncing the new name, supporters say learning it is part of recognizing the history of the land.
That's the point. Like you learn how to pronounce the name in that Indigenous language, and that's how you honor the ancestors of this land, is by learning the language that was here first.
Others hope Willaday is only the beginning. Some residents say more streets and landmarks named after explorers and politicians could eventually be reconsidered.
The lake that's behind us could stand a new name. Probably most of the streets that are named for old explorers and old politicians.
The conversation is resonating beyond Yellowknife. Residents from other northern communities say they can imagine similar discussions happening where they live.
Change is good. I think change is good. Sometimes it's people don't like change, but I think sometimes change is needed.
Whether residents quickly embrace the new name remains to be seen. But beginning this summer, one of Yellowknife's busiest streets will carry a name that reflects a much longer history. Jessica Davy-Quantick, CBC News, Yellowknife.
A disagreement over who should keep watch over the former Diavik diamond mine is now in the hands of the NWT's Environment Minister. A long-running oversight board wants to continue monitoring the site as cleanup work moves ahead. But Diavik says that extra layer of oversight is no longer necessary now that mining operations have ended. The CBC's Devin Trudenik has more.
Questions about whether the Environmental Monitoring Advisory Board should continue overseeing the former Diavik diamond mine reached the floor of the Legislative Assembly Tuesday. Environment and Climate Change Minister Jay McDonald was asked how the government plans to handle the disagreement between the board and the mine.
I'm required to consult with all parties and the advisory board before rendering a decision, and I've launched a consultation process with these parties on the agreement and plan to make a decision on Diavik's request in the not too distant future.
McDonald says whatever decision is made will be released publicly. Although mining operations at Diavik ended earlier this year, the company is still responsible for cleaning up and remediating the site. For years, the Environmental Monitoring Advisory Board has acted as an independent watchdog, tracking environmental concerns and holding the mine accountable to its commitments. But earlier this year, Diavik asked for the board to be dissolved. The company argues the board's work overlaps with other regulators, including the Wakaji Land and Water Board. The advisory board disagrees. It says it still plays a unique role in oversight and accountability, and is instead proposing a gradual wind down as cleanup work continues. The final decision will determine who keeps watch over the former mine as one of the NWT's largest cleanup projects. Devin Trudenik, CBC News, Yellowknife.
The Kekutani Inuit Association is taking a tougher stance on protecting Inuit-owned lands. A newly updated land management policy was a key topic as the QIA Board of Directors meeting got underway in Iqaluit today. The policy gives the organization new tools to penalize unauthorized access on Inuit lands. The association says a surge in mineral exploration across the Baffin region has highlighted the need for clearer rules on access to Inuit-owned lands. QIA says there have been instances where exploration work took place without its knowledge or authorization. Under the updated policy, the association would have stronger enforcement tools, including trespassing fees and orders requiring unauthorized activities to stop.
That's very important for our people because every year we get complaints about flyovers and landing in our land.
QIA says it'll rely on a combination of satellite imagery and on-the-ground inspections to keep track of activity on Inuit-owned lands. The board meeting continues through Friday, with discussions also focused on infrastructure priorities and budget planning. Who should benefit from fish caught in Nunavut waters? One MLA says the territory deserves a larger share of its own turbot fishery. Currently, Nunavut controls less than 50% of the quota in adjacent waters. Caitlin Joannis has that story.
The quotas in what is referred to as Zone OB, located around Panaktuk and Iqaluit, are shared between 3 other enterprises outside of Nunavut. This week in the Legislative Assembly, Panaktuk MLA Johnny Mike asked how much federal funding it would take to bring fishing quotas back to Nunavut. Mike says that could bring millions of dollars back to Nunavut. The Minister of Community Services, Craig Simailak, says there are 2 sides to consider.
Looking at the future years, how much of a revenue we would gain, and the fisheries companies down south are looking at how much revenue they'd be losing.
Mike says Nunavut has been treated unfairly by Ottawa, saying the federal government gave funds to Indigenous groups to take back what belongs to them, and he wants the same support.
They are held by companies from outside of Nunavut. If we wanted the same thing outside of Nunavut, we cannot get that. They won't let us.
He says it is not fair for Nunavut or Nunavummiut, who he believes are the rightful owners of the entire quota. Minister Simailak says he agrees with Mike about bringing quotas back to Nunavut, saying it could bring economic growth and jobs.
And if that takes buying out other companies, we will lobby the federal government to help us with that.
Simailak says he, along with NTI and QIA, plan to meet with federal ministers to bring fishing quotas back to Nunavut. Caitlin Jonas, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Bowhead whales in the Baffin region and off Alaska are making a remarkable comeback. But the same can't be said for bowheads off Greenland, where populations remain a fraction of what they once were. An Australian researcher has pieced together the story using centuries-old whaling records from across the Arctic. For bowheads in the Baffin region, sea ice may have been their saving grace. Researchers say the whales were able to shelter behind massive ice floes that whaling ships couldn't penetrate, even during the summer months. Still, commercial whaling took a heavy toll. Populations declined sharply through the 1800s and early 1900s, and recovery has taken more than a century.
This is of immense importance to Inuit across the Arctic as they rely on bowhead whales. Many villages rely on them for subsistence food. And to understand how the whales were threatened in the past, there's no evidence that Inuit have caused them to be endangered or threatened for thousands of years. There's been no issues for that.
Freymuller says bowheads off Greenland's east coast were far less fortunate. Their numbers were driven close to extinction and have yet to recover. Today, he says the greatest threat facing Arctic whale species is no longer whaling, it's climate change. A ceremony took place in Ottawa to bid farewell and say thank you to outgoing Governor General Mary Simon. She's Canada's first Indigenous person to serve in that role. Senators, MPs, and the Prime Minister attended an event to mark the end of her term in office.
The rights of more than 1 million Indigenous peoples are protected in Canada's Constitution, in large part because of Mary Simon's leadership in the negotiations that entrenched Aboriginal and treaty rights.
Simon was appointed as Governor General in 2021. She was well known for her work on Arctic and Indigenous issues before she took on the role. Simon's successor, retired Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour, will take on the position next week. Yesterday, we shared the news of the passing of Margaret Commodore at the age of 93. And today, Yukoners are reflecting on a life that helped shape the territory. A residential school survivor, Commodore broke barriers by becoming Canada's first Indigenous Justice Minister. After being elected to the Yukon Legislative Assembly in 1982 as a member of the Yukon NDP, she went on to champion Indigenous rights, women's safety, and community development. Her impact can still be seen through organizations she helped build, including Keoshi's Place, the Yukon Association of Non-Status Indians, and the Yukon Native Hockey Association. Tributes continue to pour in from across the territory and beyond. Katrin Pilkington spoke with one of Commodore's longtime friends about the legacy she leaves behind.
This is her two daughters. She had one more here in the Yukon when she came. This is where she went to residential school. To me, Margaret was a good friend. You know, she came here, I first met her in the late 1960s, and she made her home here in the Yukon, and she became involved very soon in looking to advocate for women's rights, for people who were non-status and anybody else that needed some help.
Margaret Commodore is an NDP MLA who used to be Justice Minister in the last government.
And she was a role model for others to follow. So she was, I would say she was a trailblazer for women.
You can't. I mean, you've got to be able to do it here because it's needed.
Her and her siblings.
She said she was a bit of a rebel.
Yeah.
What was she like?
Oh, she was fun-loving, very outspoken person, but also a really good friend to those who became friends with her. You know, she truly believed in that system, and she wanted to encourage others to get involved because you can make a difference if you're in government. So, to me, that's the legacy she leaves behind, and her family, for sure.
Margaret Commodore was 93. The Trump administration has announced plans to hit a dozen countries, including Canada, with a new tariff. It says they're not doing enough to enforce bans on forced labor in supply chain. It's the latest move by the White House to replace the broad-based tariffs that have been struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court. Ashley Burke explains what this means for Canada.
Is the new U.S. tariff a negotiating tactic? Despite Tuesday's trade talks in Washington, Canada is now on a list of countries Donald Trump plans to hit with new tariffs.
This is not a surprise. It's something that the U.S. has been planning for a few months.
In a new report, Trump's administration is accusing Canada and others of failure to enforce rules to keep out goods made with forced labor, and is proposing an additional 10% levy, but exempting CUSMA-compliant goods.
We support the overall objective, the U.S. action, I should say, and I would note that, in effect, how it's drafted for the vast majority of Canadian trade, it will not have an impact.
Carney now promising to introduce legislation soon to do more to address forced labor.
Canada has a very strong legislative regime against forced labor in supply chains. We don't want any element of forced labor coming in goods and services.
The Conservatives have long called on the government to act.
If you look at the number of shipments that have been stopped in Canada for forced labor versus the United States as an example, clearly the current laws are not working in the way that they should.
Trump's new proposed tariffs are expected to replace old levies the president can no longer use.
Really, this is the response to the strike down by the U.S. Supreme Court of some of the emergency tariffs that President Trump brought in before. They were illegal.
It's coming up as CUSMA is up for review on July 1st, and Trump is reviving his taunts about Canada becoming America's 51st state.
I've said that ever since I've been here. That's a great discussion for the president and the prime minister to have.
Trump's ambassador to Canada reposting Trump's latest comment about the sovereignty of Canada, aimed at the very country he's posted in.
I represent the President of the United States of America. My job is to promote America's views.
The minister handling this file, Dominic LeBlanc, says the U.S. gave Canada a letter of intent about the future of CUSMA. But he says it's up to the U.S. to announce what it says and how it plans to move forward with that trade deal. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is now breaking down what an independent Alberta could cost the province. She says it's part of her attempt to convince Albertans to vote against a referendum to separate from Canada. Smith says costs would run into hundreds of billions of dollars and counting. But as the CBC's Tristan Mottershead explains, separatists aren't sold on those numbers.
I think I came up with almost $400 billion worth of transitional costs that we'd have to assume.
Separation continues to be top of mind, and the question of whether an independent Alberta could work remains unclear. But this new price tag from the provincial government is starting to shed some light.
We want to be very realistic about what kind of costs and inconveniences people would have in their life if they decided to vote otherwise.
At a press conference on Monday, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith estimated an upfront cost of $400 billion with an additional $25 to $50 billion annually.
We'd have to renegotiate all of our trade agreements around the world and establish trade offices. We'd have to set up a post office. We would have to regulate telecoms, banking.
Adding that $170 billion of that cost is Alberta's share of national debt alone.
They're true numbers, but I think they're a little bit on the conservative side.
This professor of economics estimates that total cost could be even higher.
I think it could be at least $500 billion, personally.
DeVay believes the reaction of international capital and trade markets is going to be severe, leading to an even bigger bill.
Literally within 3 to 5 years of Alberta independence, we could have complete zero income tax in the federal and provincial income tax in the province of Alberta.
On the other side of the coin, the Alberta separatists feel that $400 billion possibility is worth complete freedom.
$400 billion? Who cares? We're paid off in 8 years.
But DeVay says the separatists haven't fully factored in the cost of creating a brand new national government out of nothing.
If it actually was a good idea in terms of costs and benefits, now and in the long term for me, my daughter, etc., sure, I would be on board. But the numbers literally that have been put out by the independent side do not work.
We put over $800 billion into Confederation through equalization in the last 30 years, right? If you put compound interest on that, Canada owes us $4 or $5 trillion.
Alberta's Minister of Finance says the provincial government is aiming to give Albertans a clear understanding of the financial impacts that would come with separating. The province plans to put out a full report on the costs in the coming months. Tristan Mottershead, CBC News, Edmonton.
For generations of Canadian kids, Robert Munsch stories have sparked laughter at bedtime. And now, some of those beloved books are getting a Yukon twist. The Yukon Native Language Centre is translating 20 Munch titles into Indigenous languages, including several stories with Yukon connections. The project is backed by nearly $300,000 in funding over the past 3 years. Take a look.
They go anywhere from Moose, 50 Below Zero, I Have to Go, Thomas's Snowsuit, very Yukon titles. But then there's other ones like Mermal, 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 The Paper Bag Princess, and a few other classics. We partnered with 4 First Nations in the Yukon. So we partnered with Kulani First Nation, Selkirk First Nation, Karkras-Tagish First Nation, and Liard First Nation. And so those respective languages are Southern Shoshone, Northern Shoshone, Tlingit, and Kaska. So it is in those 4 languages, and then some of the titles, not all of them, are going to be published in those languages. For Tlingit, for example, Keishi Bessie Cooley came in and just on the spot translated all the books and just read through them and said them in Tlingit, and we videotaped her. And then those went to transcribers, and a lot of the transcribers are learning the language also. There was another First Nation that we heard of that was doing translations of Robert Munsch, and that he was really willing and open to help First Nations and Indigenous groups have access to his books and translate them. Not a lot of publishers are as open, or authors are as open to that. And so for him, he was really awesome to take whatever your interpretation you want it to be, and really just run with it. And so he's been really open and really supportive of First Nations being able to translate books into Indigenous languages. All Indigenous languages and the Yukon First Nation languages, they carry the worldview of the people. So a lot of the languages are formed through relationship. They're formed through relationship with the land, with each other. And so when you talk about culture and you talk about language, they can't be separated. A lot of people are learning language separate from culture, and culture separate from language, but when they're together, it really improves learners' health, it improves their identity and knowing who they are. And so keeping languages alive is very important, and that's one of our main goals here.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. We leave you tonight with a celebration for Haines Junction grads. The St. Elias Community School held its grad parade this week. Happy graduation season, everyone. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.